you would like to take a flat piece of aluminum like this, yeah, and make your own custom motorcycle fender like this. You want to learn that? Watch the video. What is up, everybody? I am back here today, and in the last video I made a rear swing arm mount fender for KZ there. I'm going to get back on that today. I'm going to make a front fender this time. I'm going to make a pattern. Kind of going to try to stay in between like the full length fender and maybe like the smaller, you know, once again, cafe racer fenders you see people make. I'm going to try to stay somewhere in the middle of that. And I'm not sure how I'm going to mount it yet, if it's going to be a standard like tab on the side mount, how the factory fenders were, or if it's going to be a, you know, more of a top mount fender. I'm not quite sure yet. We're actually going to get the piece made and then I'll figure out how I want to mount it after that. So let's get started. Regular, just old construction paper, lengthwise, I think is going to work. I'm going to cut it in half or so, see where we're at, put it on the tire and see how I like it. If it's a little bigger than that, or if I want it a little bigger than that, I might switch to taping a couple pieces of paper together. I think I might be out of poster board. I'll have to take a look around, see what I got, but I think it's going to work out pretty good. I feel like I'm in grade school again with this construction paper. Some old stuff we had laying around, but I use it all the time. It's pretty handy. And I just ripped it. Fantastic. Alright, start over. Jordan. I have a huge stack of this, but it's pretty old. It's all faded, so it's kind of, I don't know, brittle's the right word. It's old and weak. How about that? But it works for this. Okay. Pretty close on the width I want to use actually as well. I think that's going to work. If I make it too much longer, it might, I don't know, might kind of kill the look because it just might look too big compared to that dinky little rear fender we made. I think I'm going to run with it. Since we're in the spirit of grade school with this construction paper, why not use our cheap little plastic tools as well? That's how I like this. And now we have our piece transferred to our pretty blue construction paper. I think it's a good rough place to start. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to a piece of aluminum. Don't know if I'm going to anneal this one. I might give it a go at full strength, full hardness, and see how it goes. I don't think I will need to anneal this piece though. I'd really like a Beverly shear one of these days. This thing, not too easy to cut curves on, but it does work. I can get it close enough to where I can file them. But a Beverly style shear would be very nice. It's on the wish list. But, you know, overall not too bad. Knock them down with a file after, it does the job. I got that flat piece. You can see how far off it is from following the shape of the tire. We can start doing this. Bend it over my leg a little to get the first part started. I do have a slip roll, but this is just as quick. Since I'm going to be bashing it up anyway, it doesn't need to be nice and smooth. Alright. You know, that's the basic, following the basic shape of the tire. But we can't very well leave it flat like that, so we're going to get to stretching, get to shrinking, all that kind of stuff, and let's see where it takes us. It's been a while since I've made a front fender. I'm stoked. So I'm going to stretch this a little bit through the middle. Try not to go overboard, because I already kind of got our shape going. Not our shape, but our form. So it's going to stretch a little through the middle, start to get me a little bit of a crown in it, and then we'll maybe do a little bit of hammer shrinking on the edges, see how that goes, hop on the wheel. I'm just going to play it by ear. Like I said, I'm no pro. I'm figuring these things out just like you guys are. I just go for it every time. I learn something new every single time I touch a piece of this metal. So, you know, this may be a little different than the way you've seen other people do it. I don't really know. I'm just figuring it out. Learn every time. I'm starting that stretching there. See all that waviness? That's all that metal that is trying to find somewhere to go, but it can't. It needs to be shrunk on them edges. We'll continue to stretch a little more. Try to get a little bit more crown to it. Might throw it on the wheel just to smooth some of my dents out and then start hammer shrinking the edge. I don't know. I feel like I try a new process every time. See where it goes. Starting to take the shape of a fender now, albeit a very lumpy one, but it's getting there. See all that shrink I'm going to have to do. The more I stretch and add crown to the center, that metal is moving out everywhere. And since these edges have not been touched, they're basically locked in, and that metal has nowhere to spread. That's where you get the waves. And I could hammer shrink some of those in right now. Sorry, I'm sweating like a pig. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to test fit it on the tire, see where I'm at, see how much farther I need to go. I know I definitely need to add a little more crown, but I can do that on the wheel. So I might stop here, see where we're at. not bad. Definitely needs more crown. And it's still way too flat. So we got a ways to go, but I'm liking it so far. It's going well. I'm going to hammer shrink a little on the edges just to round it over a bit on the mushroom dolly, and then I think we'll move to the wheel after that. And see, I could use a flipper here to start folding these edges over, but I find it kind of mars up the aluminum quite a bit. So even though it's really not made for this purpose, I use the flattest wood hammer I have here from Snap Fab. That usually does the trick, and then maybe I'll hop onto one of my body hammers after that. But let's see where she takes us. Perfect example right there of a big tuck. So as I'm shrinking this over, all that's collecting right there. So you want to pound that back into itself. It actually does shrink the metal in. And it's not instant. It's not going to shrink that whole tuck in one hit. It's something you have to gradually work at. If you watched the last video, you know that I have that fancy kick shrinker stretcher, and you may be wondering why I'm not using that. Well, my reasoning for that is those jaws, it's a Lancaster style, it leaves those really deep gouges in there from the jaws grabbing. So I only really use that if I need to use it for something that takes quite a bit to shrink or stretch. And I try to utilize the hammer method as much as possible, just because I do like the, I just like working the metal by myself with my hands. And you can see how much more that already changed the profile. It's changed it quite a bit. So it does work, and it works well. It just does take time, and some people, I guess, just don't like to put in that much effort, but I like it. I really do enjoy learning how to do it. I think it's a valuable skill to master, and I'm still definitely not there, but yeah, I'm just going to keep at it. A little bit more hammer shrinking on that edge, and I'm going to hop on the wheel and see how it goes. Getting a lot closer here to something I'm liking. I think it's going pretty dang well. So I'm gonna hop on the wheel, run it through a little bit, smooth her out. It's gonna flatten it back out a little. In some spots, gonna add a little crown. I'm gonna go real light pressure, the low crown wheel like before. Take it slow and see where we end up. with my machine, this isn't really doing much. Like I said, I have to add quite a bit of pressure, like more than I would like, because this wheel, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, I'm sure you can, bounces everywhere because this thing is just so weak. It works though. There's just things you have to work around, you get used to it. I plan on building my own wheel. Probably still utilize these 1-inch wide wheels because that's what I have. I'm just going to build a stronger frame. My footprint in here, very, very tight. So everything I have in here has to be well thought out because I just don't have the room. So I can't get some big monstrous wheel in here, although I'd love to have some someday, but for now, it works. It's a cheap tool, 125 bucks I think I paid for this thing. You can work around it. You don't need the best tools in the world to make a really nice panel. Careful, getting ahead of myself there. Rolled over my edge. I don't really want to edge stretch anything here. Bump the pressure up just a little more. I'm just getting more flex out of the machine than anything at this point. This is a very slow going process, wheeling a panel. If you are a very impatient person, this may not be something you're into. You could stand here literally for hours doing this, depending on the finish you want, what you're trying to achieve. Slow going. Kind of find it relaxing though. As you can see, the surface finish on this side. I don't know if I'm getting that in there well enough or not, but it's coming out pretty nice compared to the lumpy side, which I even already ran over a tad, but it's getting a pretty nice shiny finish on it there for these being some very low quality wheels. Not talking crap about Grizzly products. This is just a very low budget machine. Like I said, it was $125 for everything. I think it came with 6 bottom anvils. So can't expect a lot for that price point, but I've done some pretty nice panels with this thing, so I'm not knocking it. Just calling it what it is. Yeah, it's starting to really get way too much curl in it. That's not what I want, but that's just the nature of what happens when you wheel a panel out. But it's flattening it out more this way. So I can add more crown stretch to the center. It's going to bring it in more. I'll probably hammer shrink more on the edges first to try to bring that back in. And then, I don't know, like I said, we're just winging it here. Something about the sound these things make. That real nice. I love it. I don't know. Call me weird. You just hear that sound change when you start to smooth all your hammer marks out. Just that nice smooth sound. While I'm thinking about it, the bonus side to a machine like this is, with the wheels being smaller and lighter, you have way less inertia. When you start to use the bigger machines with the bigger, bulkier, heavier wheels, when you're moving, it's not so easy to stop sometimes. This thing will pull you right in, pinch your fingers. This one, not so much. It's great for a beginner, I think, because it teaches you how to work around the faults of the tool, you start to learn more about how the metal moves and how you can correct it rather than just relying on a machine. So in some ways it's good for a beginner. Like I said, it's easier to control. It's real easy to steer with this more narrow wheel, and the inertia on the bigger, 3-inch wide or even larger wheels, large diameter, you get this thing moving. It's very hard to steer the panel back and forth and keep your line straight if you're trying to do a traditional wheeling pattern, which I kind of just wing that as well. I don't try to do what would be considered traditional English wheeling patterns. I feel like I try to refine it more and more as I go, but I'm still very much a beginner at this trade. There's someone out there watching me right now just laughing their head off probably about my techniques, but the end process will be the same. Let's go over to the tire. I'll show you how much this thing actually moved and how bad the shape is now. Yeah, look at that. That's not what we want. We got an easy 1.5 inches higher than the tire there. However, when I start to shrink these edges, it's going to flatten back out this way. It's going to fold over more to the side. That's just the curl arrangement, as you would call it. And I might even overstretch a tad, but I can fix it. Okay, we're getting closer by the minute here. Getting really close on the shape there. Like that. Actually needs to be somewhere like that, but it'll probably slide off if I move it too much farther. But it's going pretty well. Still need to run it back through the wheel again, because I did flatten it back out quite a bit by doing what I did with the hammers, but I got the shape a heck of a lot closer. See, we're no longer 1.5 inches up on that tire in the center anymore. So I think it's going pretty good. Go back on the wheel for a couple minutes. A little bit higher crown wheel this time, and try to see if I can get a little closer. I think I've just about got it where I want it to be. The surface finish looks pretty dang good in the light that I can see. Still have a little bit of planishing to do along the edges and such, but yeah, I like it. Looks very consistent shape. That's about as good of a finish as I can get with these wheels. They're not perfectly polished, and if you've watched metal shaping before, you may know that the surface finish of your wheels transfers to the surface finish of your panel. And if you have very nice, highly polished, very true, freaking smooth really nice wheels like Hoosier Profiles or something of that caliber, this thing will turn out almost looking polished. And maybe on camera it might look fairly polished. Like I said, the finish is pretty good for these not being, you know, up to snuff. And I probably will, when I build the bigger wheel, polish these out and put them on the lathe, put this top wheel on the lathe, make sure it's real nice and true, spins true and all that kind of stuff, and polish them up. But I mean, for a cheap machine, pretty dang good. Let's check the fit on the wheel one more time and then we'll go from there. Liking it. Follows the contour of the wheel very nicely both ways. It's hard to get this thing sitting on here straight without it kind of wobbling around. There we go. It's got a nice shape. It still needs a little bit of tweaking here and there. I can just bend it back and forth with my hands. I'm going to get my profile gauge out to check it and make sure it's as consistent as my eye tells me it is. So far I'm liking it. I still can't quite decide on how I want to mount it yet. I might do like a top mount, just with the style of this bike. I think it might look cool. Maybe incorporate a dimple die or something in the top. Give a little detail. I don't know, we'll see. But let's get it over to the flat table, check it out, and okay. So it looks pretty nice and flat. All four corners are touching. There is a very slight wobble right there. Very, very slight, but that could be the edge. I've still never filed that edge. Could be a burr on there or something because it's so slight. Overall, very happy with it coming straight off the wheel like that. These are profile gauges. These are plastic ones. You may have seen metal ones with pins. These are a very, very useful tool. Mine are kind of gunked up. I need to clean them. Got some dust in them and shavings and such, make them a little harder to move. But these are inexpensive. And where I found these, believe it or not, is in the flooring section at a big box hardware store. I believe Lowe's was where I got these ones from. And they're super useful to check your shape. It's just like those toys you had when you were a kid with pins, you know, you put your hand in them and stuff. But they're very nice. Just get all your pins, sliders, if you will, and then just push down. And this one, like I said, it's not a high dollar one, but it works well enough. And just kind of get a gauge on your shape. That's pretty close. And then run it along your panel and you can see where your inconsistencies are. Now this is looking really dang good. Really good all the way through. And then I have this longer one that I can check this way with. That is looking pretty dang good. Almost no gap. So that's what I like to see. That means I got a real consistent shape. There's a little bit of planishing I need to do along the edges just because you can't run the panel to the edge of the English wheel. I mean, you can, but it pops out. So I will touch that up a bit with the hammer on the mushroom dolly, fine tune that a bit, and then planish the edges a tad more. Hit it with the file, some sandpaper, and then we'll decide how we want to mount it. Alright, I hit it with some sandpaper and then did a real quick buff on the polisher. Still got some light sanding scratches and stuff, but I don't need to get this thing perfect because it is getting powder coated. But I just wanted to put a little shine on it just to kind of show you guys our real nice consistent finish and shape. I am super happy with that. I think we're gonna have to cut the video short here because this is getting a little longer than I had anticipated. So in the next one we will work on getting it mounted to the bike. But for now, let's set her up on there. Just gonna sit right about there. Check that out. I'm pretty happy with that. Get it centered on there. Ooh, don't freaking fall. That would suck, wouldn't it? Drop it and dent the thing. Pretty stoked on it. I like it. I think it looks real good. So if you guys like what you've seen here today, please tune in for the next part of this video. I will figure out the mounting and we'll get it on there, possibly even powder coat both, and show you the finished product. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Until next time, thanks.